Mythical barkeeps, this is internet personality Vangelus, and in April 2025, the Age of the Primes Wave 2 Deluxes hit our Canadian Walmart shelves before the Wave 1 Deluxes. Look, I don't know, pal, every object-based hobby and leisure industry is being shredded down to a series of chaotic, bloody nubs right now by some mysterious politics some nerds hate thinking about. And I suspect these nigh-random early arrivals are merely another symptom. This is Transformers, Generations, Age of the Primes, Deluxe Class, The 13 Alchemist Prime, one of the 12 feature characters of this latest label switch-up, because the 13th one already kinda came out during Legacy United.
This video was sponsored in part by ToyHacks.com. Use the code COTTONTANGELOUS through the end of April 2025 for 15% off your order of labels and other paraphernalia. Using the code supports the channel. Supporting the channel feeds the machine.
Alchemist Prime is an interesting robot design who presents like a short and squat battle dwarf, but actually has fairly regular modern deluxe stature, giving him rather satisfying dimensions in hand. He does resemble Cyberverse's McAdam, not just in stature, but also in little specifics like his kneecaps and forearm circles, as well as his pinpoint spectacles. The head sculpt is loaded with character, not only wearing a cross-continuity combo of Cyberverse glasses and a jaunty old comic book mustache, but also carrying the punches of paint to highlight and contrast all the best parts. Overall, I think the bright painted metallics play really well against Alchemist's main plastic color, which is a slightly satin-finished dark green that catches light wonderfully. Included in the box are these two ethereal blade-like blastery things. You can use the barrels as handles for chopping, or peg them onto his forearms for blasting. You can even plug them into his shoulders, simply to give Alchemist Prime a bit of extra regality. But their true unified identity is that of the lenses, capital L, the artifact of the 13 primes directly associated with Alchemist Prime, and packed in with his action figure. His personal insignia is on one of the main lenses, while a smaller one bearing the ancient Autobot symbol rests above it, and on the opposite side, another smaller lens bears Unicron's Blendtron brand. Alchemist only really has one way to hold these as actual giant glasses, but I think it also looks really cool when mounted along one of his forearms as a sort of shield device. By the way, Alchemist Prime has a 5mm hole on the small of his back, and he can't really use it with his accessories. I assume it may be meant to accommodate wide-pegged stands, but like, whatever happened to our good old-fashioned 3mm butt plugs? Not only does Alchemist Prime reap the benefits of a ball-socketed neck, he can really reap the benefits, well, up and down. He doesn't really have any side-to-side tilt, he has side-to-side motion, but there's also a hinge under his ball. Well, you know, there's lots of hinges under his ball, but he can look down. Look at that. That kind of rules. That gives him a lot of potential emotion that is otherwise not available when you're simply looking left and right. Also, those glasses are so shiny. Anyway, the shoulders are universal with a really big sculpted hingy bit, so he can assert cosmic dominance. There's a bicep swivel, there is an elbow that bends 90, there is no wrist joint that turns. There is, however, a little bit of inward. If that kind of angle gets your motor going, you can do that. There's a big unhindered waist swivel, so you can take great advantage of his shoulder width just to unload punches after punches after punches after punches. If you really want to get intimate, you can spin his sideways breasts. He's got pinned outward hip motion that allows for a full absolute dominance, and then, you know, he can kick forward and backward. Nothing really gets in the way. He can't kick like 90 degrees backwards. I don't understand why you'd really want to, but I know some people tend to fixate on that stuff. There's a multiple stalked mushrooms thigh swivel, functional 90-degree knee bend, which, you know, with these proportions, it kind of sticks out when he's bending his knee in a way that I enjoy. And then the ankles have got a big, you know, there's a gap there, but a big tilting hinge. And with the transformation, you'd think maybe there's a way to get them to tip downwards a bit, but unfortunately no, because this part is clicked in here it kind of blocks that hinge, so you can't get tippy-toe action out of that, but you can still get enough action out of him with his basic joints and his very pleasant additional bit of neck tilt, along with the width of his body with this this waist swivel. You can get a lot of very intense, powerful emotion out of a guy who, at first glance, I thought might be kind of stuck, looking like he's always just kind of squatting. But no, especially when you turn him slightly sideways, there's some stuff going on here. He can settle it with you one-on-one. Alchemist Prime is still a transformer, and his transformation process is a straightforward skeleton with some cool tricks along the way. The arms don't just swing back, they hinge once to reshape while doing so. The legs pull a siege ironhide, but different, with slightly spooky and awkward tab slots to connect to the inner shoulder platforms, and a smooth closing action over the forearms. Things close up even harder with an interesting double-hinged front windshield that probably needs to go in and out in a very specific way if you want to protect the two tiny tabs on top. Truly, I thought I would have already gotten to say this in a Prima or Solus review, but since I'm still waiting for those to actually come out, I kinda love that actually making toys of the legendary deities of Cybertron means that demigods still gotta turn into trucks and stuff. And Alchemist Prime turns into a truck, just goofy enough with surface detailing to be a space truck, but aesthetically humble enough to pass for a try-hard SUV from the far-off, hypothetical future of the year 2029. I also kinda like how the alt mode ends up with a black stripe motif spreading off of the front bumper. The separated lenses can store atop the roof thanks to a pair of 5mm ports that allow the artifacts to function as a pair of God blasters, or knowledge zappers, or thew lasers. Alchemist Prime is a solid, simple, chunky deluxe Transformers toy. Part of me is satisfied with that, while part of me was hoping for some kind of zazz moment that never happened. It's common to build up at least one unfulfillable desire for any new Transformers line, and I think that with Age of the Primes, that one's mine. Hoping that the Primes would also feature at least one signature moment of otherworldly wow. At least this may set me up for healthier expectations with Prima, Solus, and Megatronus. While my first day with this figure capped at adequate outside of a fun stream, I can say he has been a constant fiddle piece on my desk for the week since then. Despite a few throwback visuals, Alchemist Prime does showcase one of my greatest hopes from this new chapter of Generations. Most of the Primes are essentially new character toys without an Iser gimmick, so folks who have primarily lived as robot mode artwork in documentation like Quintus or Amalgamus allow Generations to just make new Transformers toys whose primary gimmick is simply transforming and I guess having an artifact. It's almost like having a new TV series toy line whose resources aren't mostly funneled away towards Generations. Because this is Generations! Exploit enabled, baby! Anyway, this has been internet personality Vangelus, and I did pick up Vortex as well. You'd know that if you watched the box shredding stream. Surely you'd know that I do streams, right? Hit up the live tab on my channel page if this is a revelation to you, and peep the names of many of my credited supporters in the live chat replay. They remind me to do things with pens and dabbing.